I know this guy. That's what makes this episode special. Like, I really know this brother. He is a past master of my mother lodge, St. George's Lodge number 6 in Schenectady, New York. Worshipful brother Eddie Musso. Welcome to the Craftsman Online podcast, my brother.
Well, thank you so very much, brother. It's a privilege and an honor. Thank you.
It was so great to go down. One, to be a part of your installation or your election at the Grand Lodge of New York to the role of state director of the Masonic War Veterans. I'm happy to have you on this episode to talk about that unique triple tie that binds the Masonic War Veterans and Freemasons all across New York State. But before we get started with that, can you give us kind of an overview of what, for those that might not be familiar, what the Masonic War Veterans are and how this was formed through the Grand Lodge of New York?
Well, and just to I guess to highlight a little bit, I was obligated on that day during Grand Lodge, and I'm one of five directors of the state of New York, and or also known as the Fourth Lieutenant Commander General. And our objective is to oversee what's going on with the 25 maybe plus posts that are out there throughout the state. And we just had a Zoom meeting last night, believe it or not, on how we're going to break down the area. We're also getting some assistance from our senior Grand Warden, Mark Laffron, and I think it's the right way to do it. We piece it up. Everybody takes a piece, and then I guess to let people know that you're not out there by yourself. That you do have assistance. That the Grand Post is listening, and that we're there to give any assistance as we can. As far as the Grand Post is concerned, the Grand Post was established back in 1948. We had a back then it was a most worshipful grandmaster. I want to say his name was, I know it's Frosel, and he was instrumental in getting this off. A matter of fact, his name is Charles Frosel, and he was very instrumental in putting all of the branches of service, if you will. We had plenty of back then, I'm sure, coming in and seeking on how do we unite with each other. We already have a band of brothers within the fraternity. Now we're bringing another set of band of brothers from the branches of service, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, we're talking 76 years of existence, and I'm just glad to be part of that history right now. And plus being almost 22 years in the military myself with the United States Army, I think I bring a lot to the table. And when I speak, people have a tendency to listen, and I also I ask their feedback because it shouldn't ever be a one-way street. It should always be a two-way street.
Yeah.
And so since July 10th of 2021, our post, and hopefully you remember Lieutenant Commander Johnny Hart. He's one of our members from St. George's, or was a member. He was a commander on the ship Albatross, and just so happens that he happened to take his life. And by coincidence, when we were starting our post, it was in alignment with what the Grand Master then, Richard Kessler, Grandmaster Richard Kessler, with his battle within. So
Mm.
it all seemed. I mean, I felt it was a sign. I mean, we went through the lodge. We asked. Well, we had two names. We came to an agreement that hey, Lieutenant Commander Johnny Hart is the route to go. And I can't say more than since July 10th, 2021, this is probably one of the most recognized posts throughout the state of New York. And I'm happy that we have, right now we're looking at 29, well, actually 28. One of our members was a past commander general, and he passed away. And
Mm.
he was part of the founding fathers on getting us off the ground. So I'm hoping that I answered most of your questions there.
You did. You did a great job. Yeah. This is what I loved about you as a master of the lodge. When I was coming into St. George's, it was during your year. I was still, I think, entered apprentice, maybe a fellow craft when St. George's had their table lodge, which everybody knows in upstate New York. It's one of the most beautiful things. And, getting to be a part of that day and getting to meet you, and yeah, your smile and your warm personality, it's just I'll never ever forget that. That's why I was so proud to kind of share that moment with you at the Grand Lodge session, because I knew this was one of your other loves in the craft. Eddie and his wife Nettie are also big parts of the Order of the Eastern Star in the Schenectady area as well, and probably one of the big reasons why we still have a major presence there, because of your involvement with that. And of course, dinners that Nettie makes. Everybody who's ever had one remembers it. About
I tell
just
people, if you leave out of there hungry, it's your own fault. But
yeah,
she does put on a great spread. Yeah.
yeah. She's an amazing cook. When it comes to the Masonic War Veterans, this was one of the areas and one of the groups that exists within our Masonic family. That some members like myself that didn't have the honor of serving, which, by the way, thank you for your service to the country.
Yeah.
We want to be a part of it. We want to help, but there might be questions on how we can do it. So the very simple question is, do you have to be a veteran to be a member of the Masonic War Veterans?
To be a member, you have to be first a member in good standing at your lodge, and then also having an honorable discharge or somewhat of a. And that's another thing that I did during my military career. I worked as a military entrance processing station counselor. So when it comes to reviewing paperwork, some people might have gotten out for medical reasons or whatever, but as long as they came out of there honorably, they're able to join. Those that have not served inside the military, they're more than welcome. We have several brothers that help. For example, we always do a memorial out at the it's called Memory Gardens out in Colony, New York. And if you ever been to the site, it's a fraternal site. It has an altar and it has the three stations. And we did something back in 2021 to just go around and just at each station did a commemoration, and then we planted flags at each one of the veterans that were in that site. So
Mm.
we had people that were not part of the event coming up to us, and they said they'd never seen something like that. And I think that's what we're all about. We like to go outside of the box and let people know that these are the things that we do.
Yeah, yeah, it's very special, and you can tell this group keeps Brother Eddie very busy. The other group that keeps him busy, which it's okay. I love this about the podcast. He's a very proud grandfather as well. You can hear the grandkids uh,
Very.
in in the background. Yeah, it's a busy time at the house. We will have on our website and also in the links for the show notes for this episode. When you visit the Masonic War Vets website, you're going to notice they have a ton of initiatives. They have their official charity. They do teddy bears for veterans. They even do things as making parking signs in front of your lodge building. Can you help us out, Eddie, as to what are some of the primary goals of this group? Like you had talked about the camaraderie or maybe the mutual support of other brothers who were service members, but what other kind of things do the war veterans do when they get together?
Well, we actually meet. We happen to meet on the third Saturday of every month, with the exception of June, July, and August. We go dark, but in between, that gives us a chance for all of the principal officers and the trustees to get together and to really plot out a viable program for the once we get back in September. So we're talking about programs that either relate back to war stories, how to fold the flag. I'm a pet peeve of mine is folding that flag for the
Mm,
community, folding it for our brother sister veterans. We do that because if we anybody could open up and close a post, a lodge, you name it. It's what you bring to that meeting is what's going to determine if people want to come back the next time. So we make
Mm.
every effort to make sure that we have at least a program. And we talk about charities. A matter of fact, they spoke about my charities for as part as being grand patron for the Order of the Eastern Star, which is for the homeless veterans, and very well responded by my posts and throughout the community. So these are things to just remind people that there shouldn't even be one homeless veteran out there. And it was very, and we also have a food pantry. And then I always welcome that we go down to the Albany Stratton VA, and they have a wonderful staff over there. I almost feel like a person that works with them, because
Mm.
that's how close we are. And when I ask for support, we get it. We were very fortunate to request $5,000 from the Grand Lodge, which at that time Grandmaster Kessler was kind enough to sign off on. And with that $5,000, we went off the wish list of what the Albany Stratton VA needed, and we got them substantial amount of items and material that they needed. And again, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're recording this podcast episode in the early weeks of August. We're just enjoying that summer vacation. We got the grandkids at the house, the family's home from school. Kids will be going back to school soon, thank God. But by the time this podcast episode airs, it will probably be during your busy season, which is around Veterans Day. Aside from getting to see the Masonic War Veterans present the colors at the Grand Lodge session in May, what other kind of activities do you do to support the craft, the brothers in the lodges in the area?
Well, everybody understands coming in, especially when they're getting sworn in, that they understand that we're here to give our allegiances and our loyalties to our Grand Master, to our district deputy Grand Masters, our worshipful masters, our community. The One of the highlights that I love the most is being able to post the flag for with my fellow brothers from the post, being able to post the flags for the DD when the Grand Master comes into town to do an awards night up in Johnstown. Uh, it was just phenomenal that so many people attended that awards night, that we got so many blessings from people saying that they never seen something like that. And then the other pieces out there is not only so much going like to a village in Scotia and being able to retire a flag. It was
Mm.
it's totally amazing. And the veteran population comes out, the community comes out, and everybody needs to know. And the more we get ourselves out there, the more people understand that it's not just you do you and we do us. It's what can we do so we could continue showing that that's what we're here to do.
So I have a friend who's a master of his lodge who's got his trestle board this year, and I told him about the Masonic War Veterans, and he was like, "Oh, how do I get these brothers to come and visit my lodge?" And he's in the central part of New York. Aside from having a connection to someone like you, if there's a master or a lodge in the New York Grand Lodge jurisdiction that would be interested in having a speaker or inviting the Masonic War Veterans for a program, how do they go about contacting you for that?
Well, I would start off with the DD, and if he happens to be fortunate enough to have a member of the Masonic War Veterans, I will start from there, because eventually it goes through the post commander. Then, if we need further assistance, it get pushed on to the Grand Post, because the Grand Post has made a commitment that they will come around. And I think that the best part of this whole thing is that they know that the Grand Post is not just sitting on their hands. They're out there to assist, and just to let people know, thank you very much for being part of the family. But this is what we got to do, so like that we could have the respect of the people out there, whether it's our immediate brothers and sisters from the fraternity, and also from the community.
Mm. So the thing I like about the Masonic War Veterans is it's almost a fraternity within our fraternity in Freemasonry, with a special connection, as
I
you
will
had
have
kind
to
of touched
strongly
on.
agree on that because we already come in with a certain way of doing business, and we're just enhancing it. The fraternity is a beautiful thing. Since 2004 to the present, I had the privilege to join this great fraternity, but I was also happy to know that I brought another set of, sisters and brothers that I met throughout the military, and it just makes a difference, and it helps people. I just want to help educate people that there's a certain way of doing things. My grandmother, and I tell people that I'm afraid of my grandmother still, even though she's in her
Mm.
grave, that if I do the wrong thing, she'll come out of her grave and drop kick me. Just by the mere fact, if you're gonna do something, do it right or don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you can tell, like, one of the past masters at St. George's, I was lucky to be his junior warden when he was in the East, Daryl Pinckney, who is a member, a veteran from the Air Force. And you could tell, like, he would use not only with the usage of military terms, like, what's the SOP on this? And I'm like, the soap? Like, what are you talking? Like, I don't know. What are you, but just in how he had agendas and how he would plan for meetings. And, as you said, there is a certain way that military men bring, and that's a great experience and a great talent to contribute to the craft. What are your meetings like with the Masonic War Veterans? Is it like going to a typical Blue Lodge meeting, or is it a little different?
It's a little more relaxing. Let's put it that way, because again, we're bringing a brotherhood together, just like what we do in the fraternity. Uh, you know, it's it's, uh, it's ritualistic to a point. There's an opening and a closing, but
Mm.
I stand by what is it that we bring. We open it up to the brothers inside the post. If they have anything to bring before the post, because I think that's the only way that we're going to make it enjoyable and comprehensible for them to say, hey, listen, there's not a typical uh, coming to a lodge thing. This is the kind of lingo that I did when I was inside the military, and these are certain things that I may be left with or would like to bring into. And so when we have our post meetings, it's all about what can we make it so like that we have. I mean, I'm very grateful. We even have folks that are coming from other posts, and their thing is, hey, how can we become part of your post? And we welcome that from anybody. I mean, anybody that meets
Mm.
the criteria.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lodges, members, maybe even masters of lodges, and we have so many wonderful Masonic charities that exist, especially that need your support in within the Grand Lodge in New York. And if you had some time on your trestle board, or if you were looking for a very worthy, worthwhile cause, I would encourage you to think about making generous contributions to the Masonic War Veterans, because as you pointed out, and I don't want to overlook that, but to hear that we have members of our craft who are brothers, who are veterans, who take their own lives, that's difficult to hear on any level. Whether you're sitting in a Blue Lodge meeting and we hear that, and we think about the altar being clothed for the period of 30 days, and for two meetings we're thinking about this brother and his family, and the loss that's going through that. I couldn't imagine knowing this person at a deeper level as a member of a now special group that I'm a part of. What are some of the memorable moments, or some of the exchanges like that you've had with some of the other Masonic war vets that now you've gotten to meet because you're a member of this unique group?
I tell you, it's a blessing. It's a true blessing, because now you're meeting up. Just like I expressed earlier in the beginning, it's nice that we're all part of this great fraternity. But if you're not thinking beyond your immediate lodge, then I think you're missing the target. So in doing certain events that we do, either for the Grand Master or for the DD or for the Worshipful Master, it gives us an opportunity, even where we actually communicate with each other. Hey, listen, if you don't have enough personnel that can commit to it, let us know. We will come in and we'll help you out. It's just a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes we have our misunderstandings, But it's like any organization. We do sit down and we do talk it out. So like that, because at the end, it's how we present ourselves. We want to leave a lasting impression, letting people know this is not the Boy Scouts, and no disrespect to the Boy Scouts, but this is brothers that are from a known military branch of service that are coming back here, and we want to show you that we respect everything that we do, so like that people could continue supporting us.
Mm. So this was a part, worshipful, that going through your website, it was a theme, and I was really moved by this. We often talk about the mystic tie, and that what we as Freemasons, we share that in our fraternity. And you've touched on this like deeper bond that exists with the Masonic War Veterans, but there's a term that you guys use that I think is really cool, which is triple tie. What does triple tie mean to you?
But you know, you being raised as a master mason, you know about that triple tie and that vein. But we also look at it, our country. You know, first and foremost is our man upstairs, our God, and then our fraternity, and then uh, our obligation to everybody else. I mean, if we're not doing that, if we're not taking those things into consideration, we gotta really take the time out to understand that. And I think that's what we do best before when we actually interview a potential candidate to come into. We stress these things because it's not again. We don't want you to feel that you're coming into a glee club. That's first and foremost. That
Hmm.
service to God. If it doesn't mean anything to you, I don't want to sound like a hardcore guy, but maybe that exit door might be a better answer for you. All right, and then our fellow man, we got to make sure that we're looking out for each other, because it's going to come to that point. If we're not looking out for each other, we're going to be asking ourselves, why couldn't we do it? And we're going to be asking ourselves the question, we could have, should have, would have. And then the last piece there for our country. If we don't stand up and take care of what is right for our country, I'm I'm just venturing to think that, are we going to have a country to even to protect and to save? And so yeah, those things come into key, and like any other organization that is true to itself, if they're not thinking along those lines, then I just have to question, where's that particular organization going?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Especially, you kind of touched on it earlier. There's the peaks and valleys in membership in Freemasonry, and we all know the amazing peak that we had after World War II with a lot of the servicemen coming home. But you can always kind of track like where our membership numbers grow, unfortunately, after military conflicts, because men come home and they're seeking that fraternity that they had in the military, but also with the same thing that we embrace as Masons is trying to find that bigger answer to the question of like, why are we here? How to become a better person? Like, what is it that God wants me to do with my life? And those are things that we all are kind of shown the answer to through Freemasonry. But I think it's unique that you come in through that lens with a military background, with the training and the regiment, and uh, all of the benefits that come with being a soldier, to come into it. Real quick, I'm just curious with that question in mind, like when you came in, thinking back to the first time you knocked on that door to enter a Masonic lodge, and I love the smile that's already shown up on your face. What was going through your mind as a service member when you came in and you're like, what are these guys doing to me in here?
No, it was a time of a feeling of accomplishment. Let's put it that way. I served, to be exact, 21 years, 8 months, and 6 days, and I brought in my Manila folder, because if I didn't do that, I would have probably been getting drop kicked by my grandmother again. But I come in, I meet 5 or 6 brothers in my interview, and they literally opened up my Manila folder. They all perused it, and then they closed it up, they put it down, and they said, "Let's talk." and that's when I knew that I was coming to the table with something that could have been utilized and that they could respect. That I was just not coming from around the block. I came with some credentials, if you will, and that I was willing to share those credentials, and that's why I think I could say that. Thank God that I had the privilege to go through the chairs and then become the master. And one thing I really wanted to also mention earlier from the post, it was a challenge to me. And you remember our Right Worshipful Frank Kowalski, who has family that are
Yes.
military, and he's our historian. Well, at least he was our historian. He just turned it over to, I believe, to our brother, Right Worshipful Ralph Pfeiffer. But he was the one that challenged me and said, I heard this thing about the Masonic War Vets. Do you think you could put one together? And I looked at him and I took it as a challenge. And
Mm.
I tell you, between the lodge, Cryptic Council, that were very, very generous in helping us get started. And we had, believe it or not, before you know, we had 16, because all you needed was 15, but we had 16 individuals that came to the table and said, let's get this launched. And that we were very grateful for that.
Yeah, that was very special. As we mentioned, Worshipful Brother Musso is the past master of my mother lodge in Schenectady, St. George's Lodge number 6. He's a very dear brother. If you ever get a chance to make your way up to upstate New York or see him around our grand jurisdiction, he will be the first one to greet you with a warm smile and a big friendly handshake. Um, in your opinion, I wanted to get to this because I think a lot of what I've benefited from in Freemasonry is that it kind of gives you a purpose in life where it helps you answer those bigger questions, as I mentioned, like, why am I here? How can I be a better man? How does Freemasonry or just any of these Masonic organizations help veterans in particular, not necessarily war veterans, but just men who have served our country when it comes to um, finding that purpose in life that is larger than just that as the individual?
Well, what I've seen with my own eyes is that is welcoming. I could speak for our immediate lodge, St. George's. They welcome you, but at the same time, they want to make sure that you're asking the appropriate questions. That you're just not looking for another title or something to that effect. They also take the time out to explain the what the benefits are of coming in, and especially if you're a veteran, then it's just going to enhance what you already have developed when you was inside the military if you had a good experience. So I have to admit, from the recruiting retention side of the house where I come from in the military, I haven't really seen anybody coming out with a bad taste. And if they have, my quick response to them is, what are you going to do about it? And are you going to allow us to help you? And like that, hopefully, if they remember back in through their training, it's all about how you're going to get to your destination. I hate to say, I don't know, is this PG or something? Because if you got a caca pie in your face, are you going to be crying that you got the caca pie in your face, or are you going to wipe it off and still get to your destination? And you're going to have the support, and it's a two-way street. If you don't seek the support, then everybody's going to think that you're okay.
Mm. As a citizen, I'm always thankful every night I go to bed that there are men and women out there who are looking out for my best interest and, providing that blanket of freedom that I get to wake up and enjoy every day. And never want to take it for granted, but you don't think about it because you're able to just enjoy it every day. But as a Freemason, I'm very thankful for brothers like you, Brother Musso, who are there for our brothers who have served and have this network and are also supporting our craft. So thank you so much for that and for coming on this episode of the Craftsman Online podcast.
Well, I thank you so very much for. I tell you, like I said, I was floored. But keep in mind, I like to leave with this. I have a saying that I say in the Eastern Star as a grand patron. I ask everyone to start from where they are use what they have, and do what they can. And the purpose behind that is that both sides of the house actually help each other to make this fraternity as great as it is. And I ask that my sisters and brothers out there, if they're listening to this podcast, that they continue that effort. So like that, we can all get up on the podium at the end and say that we all did it.
Very nice. Awesome.